Hi, I'm Kevin Millington of the Empire State Aerosciences Museum here in Glenville, New York. Today is Saturday, February 25th, 2012. I'm really happy to continue our audio history with the person who recruited me to the board of the museum, and one of our great founders and supporters, Mardy Moore. So Mardy, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
We're happy to have you here. Mardy has been one of the founders of the museum in the mid-'80s, and I believe you were involved in the initial organization.
I'm really not a founder, because the founders are the people who incorporated it and were on the board. But I did go to the original meeting that they had to discuss doing this.
Oh, really?
Back at WRGB. Jim Delmonico called the meeting. He was the general manager of WRGB at the time and a strong supporter of this museum. And he and Ernie Tatro and the various people who were involved at that time, Al Holstrunk, Jack Vander, Veer, a whole bunch of people.
The meeting was right in downtown Schenectady?
And the meeting was at the WRGB studio, which is on Balltown Road in Niskayuna.
Oh, okay. All right.
And they were talking about this, and I said to Jim, I'm not a pilot, why do you feel I should be this? And he said, because you're interested in museums, you are a person who will get things done, and he said, you should be a part of this. So I was a part of it because Jim had done me some favors at Proctor's.
Sounds like you're kind of a founder.
Well, I was a listener at the founding meeting.
You played a key role.
That's what you call it. But let's talk about
this
exhibit, because it's
could you please, this is a Lockheed Electra.
Right.
But tell us about how you acquired this for the museum.
We were very involved, and I've been holding on to this little button to show you. I saw Amelia Earhart. This was the button that was given out by Turner Television when they presented this made-for-television movie, Her Final Flight. Okay. And we dealt with them because we were very interested in Amelia Earhart, and had Amelia Earhart small exhibit here. And that was after we had acquired the plane, as a matter of fact. We tried to get the world premiere of their movie. And Proctor's agreed they would have it. We got a date, but unfortunately, the arrangements were too far ahead in I think it was Los Angeles, where they had the opening. Mm-hmm. So we were the secondary opening. We were earliest theater in this region to have that film, which was sort of exciting. Yeah. But let me tell you about this plane, because we had researched about this plane and discovered that when they made the movie, there were 3 planes that they used. One was a very fully equipped, lovely Lockheed that flew, an Electra, and that one, was really a first-class plane. Yeah. Then they had one that they used for interior shots, and this one is quite a bit what they used for the interior shots. It's got the full fuselage, the
flight controls too.
Flight controls and the crew trolley that Amelia Earhart sent messages back to Fred Noonan, because over the roar of the engines.
I never noticed that. I never noticed that.
Oh, yes. Well, you couldn't hear over the roar of the engines.
Oh.
And so they couldn't talk to each other.
I think at the time that my history, Marty, is that the Electra was a relatively advanced plane for its time.
It was a very advanced plane.
Metal skin, stress skin, retractable landing gear.
As a matter of fact, Lockheed, who made the original
Electra.
Yeah, the panel, the instrument panel. Yes. We got from them a signed copy of the instrument panel with Amelia Earhart's signature, accepting that this was the design that she approved.
Really?
Yes, we have that here at the museum.
So who did you negotiate?
I negotiated with people from Turner Network. Okay. And I went down and met with them in New York City and chatted with them about this. But when we went out for the plane, it was so amazing. And I've been involved in some outrageous things. I've asked people to do outrageous things. For another organization, or not for myself, but for an organization that I support, I will ask people outrageous things. And so I thought, well, if we could get this plane, it would be great. And so I located where it was, and I was going out to California. My brother lived out there, and my sister and I went out for a family event. And so I said to him, now, there's this plane that I want to look at, and we'd like to buy it. And he said, you're going to buy a plane? Now, my brother was a pilot. He said, I don't have a plane, and I'm a pilot. You're going to buy a plane? I said, yes, I need one. I have a particular one in mind. So we located where this studio was. It was a plane boneyard, really. It was huge, but it was in the middle.
In California?
In the middle of no place, way up in the hills. We drove for miles and saw nothing. And I really thought, we're lost. I mean, where are we going? We finally came upon this huge place.
Now, who was on this expedition with you?
My brother and sister.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so we found the place, and we went in, and I talked to the man in charge, and I finally said, you know, what I was interested in. And so while he was locating where that was in this vast place, we were looking around at some planes there. My brother noticed a plane, a bomber, that had blood spattered on its windshield.
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm sure that was some...
I think it was a bird strike.
Maybe it was a recent movie or something that they fixed it up for. I don't know, but I remember thinking, good heavens, you could find any aircraft part you wanted here. It's huge. So anyway, we finally started negotiating the plane. And as I said, I wanted to buy it. And that was my purpose. And the first price they offered it for, we're all sitting down so I can tell you, was $250,000.
Oh my God.
Rich for my budget, rich for anybody's budget.
Marty, I recall that this movie, the final, Amelia Earhart, the final flight, was in the mid-90s, 1994. Was the time period where for movie enthusiasts, I think it was Diane Keaton, Rutger Hauer, and Bruce Dern were the primary cast.
Right.
So after some point, you're talking after 1994, you and your
I think
family.
it was 96.
Okay, 96.
I'm not sure.
California, trying to acquire this.
And as I say, they started at $250,000, and I almost fell over, and I said, "You've got to be kidding me! This plane, you're going to ask $250,000 for?" I said, "It's not worth that much." And we chatted a while, and we just, pointing out the various things that it didn't have, like it didn't have an engine. And I said, what are you going to do with it? You can't fly it. It doesn't have...
Is there wings? Obviously,
no wings.
Fuselage is
as my brother pointed out to the man, well, you can't fly this plane. It doesn't have any wings. That should reduce the price greatly. And so the guy dropped down to, I think, $150,000. I had called Joyce Newkirk, who was the treasurer, and maybe she was the president that year, but very involved with Zonta. To say I was going to buy this, and hopefully the Zonta Club was going to support the purchase and raise the money, whatever money I was going to need. And she said, well, we can't give you a check and send you out with a check, and we just don't operate that way. And I said, no, I will put it on my credit card. And when I was telling her this over the phone before I went out, my husband said, you're going to do what? I said, I'm buying a plane. I'm going to put it on your credit card.
You must have had a very good credit rating for putting $150,000.
Well, I wasn't going to spend that much. Kevin, you know me. How long have you known me?
Yes.
I don't spend a lot of money. I'm very frugal. But anyway, we negotiated. It came down to $150,000. I called Joyce and I said, I'm down to $150,000. And I'm still working on it. I'm not going to pay this much, but I'm working on it, and we may still get it. And we negotiated.
Who were you negotiating with? It wasn't Turner Broadcast.
No, it was the people who owned the plane.
Okay.
The company that owned the plane.
Right.
They leased it to Turner.
Oh, okay. Do you recall their... It was in California. It was in Northern California?
Northern California.
Okay.
They have planes for movies all the time. That's one of their major businesses. But anyway, we negotiated. As I said, my brother pointed out that it didn't have wings. And he said, being a pilot, I know wings are quite essential. And he said, you've got to come down from this price. Well, we got down to $10,000. I thought, well, we're getting close. We're really getting close. We got to $10,000. I called Joyce again. I said, we're at $10,000. We're making progress. And I finally, I couldn't get him any lower than $7,500. And
That's the great
My
story.
brother looked at me and he said, I don't think he's going any farther. I think this is, he said, my brother's a big negotiator.
So the original, you negotiated an
From
acquisition of
$250,000
$250,000
to
to,
7,500. And I would have kept going,
Nice job.
but even my brother thought, that's
Yes.
probably as far as I could push it.
sure.
So then I had to tell him the other piece of the puzzle. This was out in California.
Sure, transporting it back to.
Getting it back here
Mhm.
was part of the deal. And I had arranged before I went out with Archie Barbarian, who was the general over at the air base across the way,
Mhm.
that if they had a plane coming back from Antarctica, could they make an opportune stop and put this in it and bring it here? And he said, Marty, I'll give you 3 airports. If you go to any one of those 3, we can make those arrangements. But those are the only 3.
Mhm.
Well, the nearest to this air park was Edwards. And so I thought, okay, that's...
Now, Edwards Air Force Base is in the Mojave Desert of California, isn't it?
Yes.
It really kind of is the same as this. The site of this museum was the GE Flight Test Center. It was
Right.
kind of, this right here was kind of like a mini Edwards Air Force Base, which is the center of Air Force test and
Yes,
evaluation.
yes. But anyway, I told the man after he agreed to the 7,500 that price included transporting this plane
You did a great
on
job.
whatever day
Yeah.
I had to select, because I had to know when the plane was coming. I
Yeah.
couldn't have it sitting there or waiting, so that had to be arranged. And I said, I'll let you know when it has to be there and what time it has to be there, but that's part of the deal,
Mhm.
and there's no extra money for that. That's included in the purchase price.
Mhm.
Well, as I say, the man, I think he was so happy to get rid of me. He wanted to get over it because I just kept digging him, and I think he thought, get this woman out of here.
Oh,
It was interesting because I was working at the time at Northeast Savings, who was the predecessor of Bank of America here in Schenectady. And I received a phone call one day from Mrs. Moore, as it was explained to me. My secretary said, Mrs. Moore would like to speak to you. So I took the phone thinking it was an irate customer, because we did have a few of those back in those days. And it was Marty, and she said, I'm in California, and I'm looking at an aircraft that they used in the movie, and it's for sale, and we can buy it. And I said, well, how much would that cost? $250,000. Well, I almost had a stroke right there at the bank. I said, Marty, where are we going to get that kind of money? We are a service organization. Every penny we raise for service is spent on service, so we don't have a real big budget or a real big bank account. So she said, well, I'm working on it. I'm negotiating on a price, and I'll call you back. So during the day, I got several calls from her. It started at $250,000, and by the end of the day, it was $7,500, which we thought we could handle. So I said, but how are you going to pay for it if you're paying for it out there? And she was going to put it on Chuck's credit card. And I said, well, you can't do that. Chuck will never...
Chuck
He doesn't owe... Chuck was Mrs. Moore's husband,
He was used to my doing
and he
things
was
like
used to her, but
that. He didn't even turn an eye.
he was not ever going to open the statement, so he wouldn't know about it, because Marty, of course, did all those things. So we then he charged it to the credit card. She also had to negotiate getting it here, which was very interesting, because thank God we have the 109. There's a partner across the runway from the museum, and they were wonderful in getting it here. And came in on the coldest day in
I was
March.
going to say, what do you recall? Marty was talking about the day.
Oh,
It's
it
the
was
coldest day I
confirmed it was a cold
coldest
day.
day I can remember. We met here around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and if you've ever been to this airport, it's windy on a calm day. So on a real cold day, it was even windier, and we stood on the tarmac waiting for the aircraft to land, and to pull that out of the
it was so
belly
exciting.
of that plane was
So exciting.
so exciting, but I almost froze to death. I can remember.
I wish I had been there.
Oh,
I mean,
it was
been
cold.
An interesting day to see.
We-
the-
We would
Of course,
have
we
put you
looked-
out in the wind so that we could still be high.
Right, and we were out in the wind. Our
It was
hair was
so
blowing
cold.
all over, so it was quite.
But it was
Well, that sounds like a real adventure.